Wen Jin, who wielded immense power, died on the most glorious day. After being reborn, she turned out to be a pitiful little orphan girl. Although she had no power, fortunately she still had money. Faced with relatives who want to seize inheritance, Wen Jin is not at all soft-hearted. No one has been able to snatch things from her, the living king of hell, yet, looking at the property certificate that was even taller than a person in her hand, Wen Jin felt that she must have been too tired in her previous life. This life is meant to enjoy happiness, and being a renter is also good. Cowardly people, wherever they go, are always gold. With the rent they receive, they can easily manage their finances and earn a fortune, earning the nickname, Warm Half City. The various heroes do not believe in evil and express that the big shot is just lucky. Unexpectedly, the big shot not only has powerful means, but also a powerful mouth. They can only cry and beg for mercy from the big shot after being crushed so badly. Daily routine of the big shot. Punching top-notch relatives, kicking silly hats from all walks of life, and of course, swatting flies scumbag A. If you please me well and make me happy, you can choose any house here. Wen Xiaodao. What kind of thing? What big garlic are you pretending to be in front of the landlord himself? This is all my territory. Green Tea B. Although Dao Dao is a disaster star and has no advantages, she is honest and definitely not the kind of person you think. Being poor is not her fault. Wen Xiaodao. Am I poor? Have you seen this circle on the map? It's all my territory. Oh, by the way, I remember your house is also in that area. The rent will increase next month. The landlady stood up and even the most mysterious ninth lord's knees trembled, so she asked if you were afraid. Novel keywords. Oh, hello. The landlady finally stood up without a pop-up window. Oh hey. The landlady finally stood up and started downloading the complete TXT collection. Oh, hello. The landlady finally stood up and read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. Wealth moves people's hearts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Wealth moves people's hearts. Sitting in a wheelchair, with a pale face and only a handful of bones left, Wen Jin signed the last word on the new homeowner's confirmation letter, stamped it, and finally slowly closed her eyes. Her poison could no longer be suppressed. In the past, clouds and smoke passed by quickly like movie scenes, only feeling that a person's life is so long and so short. Wen Jin, who was designated as the heir while still in her mother's womb, was poisoned by someone. Although she was rescued, her legs were disabled. Even with the strength of her family, there is no cure. If it weren't for her good brain, she might have lost even the last bit of value. Since childhood, she has been trapped in the family, learning the skills that inheritors should possess, and not daring to slack off at all. Fortunately, she has fulfilled her mission. Under her control, the family has become the first family in just 10 years. However, geniuses never end well. Over the years, she has planned everything and calculated everything, ultimately exhausting the last trace of her body's essence and blood. When it comes to regret, there is no such thing as holding great power. Only others are afraid of her, and the affectation of a little girl can only be found in those who have good luck and are too idle to panic. Unfortunately, she just wanted to experience what it feels like to run on both legs and wake up naturally in the wilderness. These years have been so tiring. Now that I can sleep for a long time, I don't know if it's a bit of a regret. Not long after it was quiet, waves of arguments made Wen Jin, who was known for her ruthlessness, extremely angry. These people, who have just ascended to the top of the first family, dare to be so lazy and arrogant that they don't know how to restrain themselves. What are the 12 shadow guards around her doing? In this way, all the people who commit the following offenses should be subject to family law. But her eyes couldn't open. Fortunately her hearing wasn't affected in any way. This little bunny dares to seek death. She's trying to break the inheritance of my old Wen family. Don't make any noise here. This is the hospital. If you make any more noise, we will call the police. Hey, why are you talking so unpleasant? We discipline our own children and want you to be talkative. Nurse in white, looking at the crowded area of people who were difficult to meet, couldn't help feeling a little scared and pitiful for the little girl lying in bed now. She actually wants to leave, after all, being with these unreasonable people. She is also afraid of being hurt by mistake, but looking at the current scene, if she leaves, the little girl on this hospital bed is likely to be skinned and boned. Hurry up and move away, a little girl. What's so precious about this? She wants to stay in such a good hospital room, wasting my money at old Wen's house. It's all because of that damn old thing, who is so guarded against us. Not only did he give all his inheritance to a bereaved star, I also made a will. If this dead girl dies, all her property will be donated. How can you let her seek death? Oh, my old Wen family's property, losing money and wanting an inheritance, bah, there's no such thing as this in our countryside. Upon hearing the sound of so-so again, a deep magnetic voice sounded. Who are you? This is a private ward, and trespassing can hold you legally responsible. The sharp voices paused for a moment before suddenly rebounding. Okay, this cheap hoof is really not a good thing. Like her mother, she is a fox spirit who specializes in hooking up with men. She wants to give away the wealth of my old Wen family to someone with a different surname. You stinky and shameless person, you came just in time today. Let the police come and arrest you. This despicable girl is only 16 years old, and you are a troublemaker underage. You should wait to go to jail. Wen Jin could no longer listen and used all her strength to suckle, finally opening her eyes. What caught the eye were a group of women who were out of shape and dressed inappropriately, or women with fierce faces. Although she did not deliberately study physiognomy, from what she knew, she could still see that these women were not good things. The man standing next to him, standing out in a crowd of chickens, had a straight suit, but it didn't fit well. At first glance, it was just a finished product on the assembly line, not worth much money. Being presumptuous. What kind of person who can't stand the stage without rules dares to appear in front of the head of our family? The rough, hoarse, and soft voice finally caught the attention of the excited women. 7 or 8 pairs of eyes looked over in unison. They were completely strangers, and none of the 12 shadow guards who never left were there. If Wen Jin hadn't noticed anything wrong, she wouldn't know how many times she had died. However, what she thought was very majestic. In the eyes of these people, it was like nursing like a kitten, unable to intimidate people at all. A sharp pain swept through Wen Jin's mind, and she didn't even have time to sort out the situation. She only knew she wasn't herself, and then fainted again. The nurse couldn't bear it anymore and shouted angrily, "Get out quickly." Then quickly ran to the bedside shouting for a doctor. Women seem to have also been frightened, of course, not because they are afraid of being held accountable, but because they are really afraid that if Wen Jin dies, the property of the old Wen family will really change their surname. When Jin woke up again, it was already 2 days later, but fortunately she was finally safe. Looking at the hospital room in front of her, it was clearly different, so it should have been a different place. Just as he moved, a person with the words, "caregiver," embroidered on his clothes rushed over. "Little girl, you finally woke up. I'll go call Lawyer Qin right away." Quiet down, when Jin finally knew what had happened. She was not Wen Jin anymore, but Wen Xiaodao, a pitiful and insecure little girl was picked up by old man Wen from Wenjia village over a decade ago, along with her beautiful but mentally unstable mother. When old Wen was young, he was always generous, but later he didn't know what happened. He ran away from home for more than 30 years before returning, and all his family members in this room had died. The rest of the so-called old Wen family were all dressed in 5 costumes. When their mother and daughter were picked up, there were people who could say anything. At that time, the wickedness of human nature was fully demonstrated, and even some people targeted Wen Xiaodao's foolish mother. Fortunately, old man Wen still had his reputation when he was young, and many people said that old man Wen exuded an unpleasant aura. In recent decades, he must have done a lot of killing and arson outside, which shocked those people. Wen Xiaodao's mother died when she was 5 or 6 years old, and only little girls like Wen Xiaodao didn't know where her mother died of illness. According to Wen Xiaodao's memory, her mother's madness was clearly caused by poisoning. Later on, she died also because of the poisoning. Wen Jin dare not say anything else. In terms of poison, she is definitely at the forefront. Even now, Wen Xiaodao's body contains some poison, but it is not deep. It seems that she was also poisoned from the mother's womb. So it seems that it's really similar to her experience. A month ago, old man Wen also passed away due to illness. The people in the village couldn't see the killing spirit that old man Wen had already suppressed, but Wen Jin could see that the years when old man Wen went missing were not simple. Sure enough, after Mr. Wen's death, all the snakes, insects, mice, and ants in Jinjia village emerged, wanting to eat out of nowhere, but they never dreamed of it. What Mr. Wen left behind was not only the things in the village, but also a large area of land ownership. Moreover, the city had already planned a district for development, with 2/3 of it belonging to Mr. Wen. After the demolition, all the money was in the billions. Now, the wealth is moving people's hearts. The orphan daughter was not directly swallowed, or because the will said she died, all the money went to waste. And when Xiaodao will be hospitalized, not at all committing suicide, but being kicked into the pond by those peers who have long been jealous and red-eyed, squeezing their necks and teasing them. That's also why her voice is so hoarse, and the parents of those murderers all say in unison that she committed suicide. When Jean chuckled playfully, with an expression on her face that resembled that of a demon returning to take his life. I didn't expect a small village to be so exciting in terms of seeking wealth and killing lives. It's not inferior to the Wen family back then. Should we say that when people go bad, their methods are really cruel, but that's also good. It saves me from feeling too tough when I take action. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Righteousness and Vigorous Qi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Righteousness and Vigorous Qi. The person known as Lawyer Qin arrived soon. Obviously he should be nearby, that's why he came so quickly. The person who came here was the man she had met before. In Wen Xiaodao's memory, this man should be barely trustworthy. If it weren't for this man coming to find her at that time, I'm afraid Wen Xiaodao might have been played to death by those people directly. Qin Fan breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Wen Xiaodao waking up. He blamed him. After taking the little girl to the hospital, forgot to tell people not to know about Wen Xiaodao's ward, which caused those people from the Wen family to come knocking on him. As a result, Wen Xiaodao, who had just been rescued, was almost beaten to death. Xiaodao, how do you feel? Don't worry, I will definitely get justice for you. I thought Wen Xiaodao would say thank you as cautiously as before, and then tremble like an abandoned puppy with red eyes. As a result, Wen Xiaodao not only had no fear at all, but also looked at him with a smile. The light in his eyes made Qin Fan feel uneasy. That's not necessary. I can't write 2 words of warmth with just one stroke. At least they can also be considered my clan relatives, so there's no need to go online and settle accounts with them. But what Wen Xiaodao wanted to say in his heart was, "Oh, if you want to escape so easily. I'm afraid it's just a dream." Back then, she was able to smoothly ascend to the position of head of the family as a disabled person, intimidating those who were petty and petty. Could she be a kind-hearted person? The title of King Wen Yen is not for nothing. Now Qin Fan became even more confused. Ah! The Wen Xiaodao in front of him, compared to the person he had come into contact with before, clearly felt like 2 people. The previous Wen Xiaodao was like a weak grass on the roadside, blowing gently and it was about to break, and the Wen Xiaodao in front of him felt like he was smiling, but it made him feel a chill in his spine. Qin Fan's mind seemed to be a bit overwhelmed, and his voice trembled as if he hadn't even noticed it. "Okay, when you're better, I'll help you handle those contracts," he said. There is still a slight gap between this world and her original world. Before the Ming dynasty, the history of both worlds was the same. just at the end of the Yuan dynasty, history turned a corner, and the development of the two worlds was completely different. Her world is now the Great Cloud dynasty, with a very smooth transition from feudal society to modern society, probably similar to some countries with royal families now. The civilization of Dayun dynasty is similar to that of the world she is currently in, with the only difference being that Dayun dynasty, along with the royal family, nobles, and aristocratic families, and the Wen family, which lasted for thousands of years, has always been a second-class aristocratic family. Later, with her, she transformed the Wen family, which had a good foundation, into the first aristocratic family of the Dayun dynasty. If it weren't for her disability in poison, the empress could have done it, is Wen Xiaodao and now a little orphan girl or a bullied orphan girl. The gap between them also took Wen Jin quite some time to digest. Fortunately, this world is still good. The power and constraints of the clan are much less than those of the Dayun dynasty. Otherwise, as someone who even has guardianship in someone else's hands, she would really be called Tian Tian Buing and Di Di Ling. By the way, my guardianship is within my clan, right? Can they fully represent me in handling the property left by my grandfather? Even before I reach adulthood, they will use various methods to embezzle my property, and I won't be able to pursue it in the future. The laws of this world, Wen Jin really doesn't know, just the little memory of Wen Xiaodao. It's already very good for her to know so much information now. Qin Fan nodded and shook his head, saying, before you were a minor, they could indeed handle these assets on your behalf. However, Mr. Wen had already figured out a way to stop such a thing. His will not only includes donating all of your inheritance if you died, but also if you died, there are also other requirements that anyone who wishes to dispose of your inheritance must obtain the consent of your guardian, law firm, and yourself in order to exercise the right to dispose of the property originally. It could still be like this. It seems that Old Man Wen has some knowledge, but according to his previous temperament, even Old Man Wen has tried his best to protect him, afraid that he may not be able to retain all his assets. Now she has become her Wen Jin. These people, if they want to take these things from her hands, it's really a dream. They think of those vulgar women who look unattractive. If it were in the Great Cloud dynasty, she would have been dragged out and sold, which would be unsightly. Now, I can only endure it, but these people are obviously determined to grab those things from her hands. If such greedy people don't get a single hair in the end, Wen Jin feels that this should still be very soothing. Well, from now on, she will be Wen Xiaodao. Whether it's past favors or grievances, she has taken them all together. Just when Qin Fan felt uneasy all over, as if he didn't even have the qualifications to speak in front of Wen Xiaodao, the newly appointed Wen Xiaodao hooked his finger and said, "Come here, I have something for you to do." Although it was an employment relationship, Qin Fan strangely felt that the Wen Xiaodao in front of him clearly felt like he was a servant. However, he also felt that being a servant was his honor. This damn illusion. After whispering a few words, Wen Xiaodao waved his hand and said, "All right, you can go now. When you finish the work, come back." Qin Nukai Fan. It's really outrageous. Of course, Wen Xiaodao knew that she was completely different from the real Wen Xiaodao, but she never thought about living the same life as the former Wen Xiaodao. What if someone discovers that she's inconsistent? She is gentle, but she has dragged all the young talents of De Yun Chao into suspicion of life. Even the proud daughters of heaven are not too much, and there is no need to pretend to be others and live. What international joke are you joking about? She was so miserable in her previous life, and this life is what she has been dreaming of. With good legs and no family ties, she can live as she please, no matter what. However, upon closer inspection, although it was a normal leg, it seemed that she didn't know how to use it very well. Wen Jin still felt a bit uneasy. Fortunately, these legs are still very beautiful. In the future, she will wear leg-revealing outfits every day. Wen Jin immediately pressed the call bell, and she needed to quickly seek the help of a doctor to quickly break through her psychological shadow of being disabled for more than 30 years and be able to walk normally. At the same time, we need to find a way to find some good medicinal herbs and take away the remaining toxins from our bodies. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. This girl is a werewolf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. This girl is a werewolf. When the doctor found out that Wen Xiaodao's legs couldn't walk, he was also startled, fearing that Wen Xiaodao's previous drowning would cause hypoxia in the brain and affect the motor nerves, quickly arranged many inspections for Wen Xiaodao, but there were no problems. In the end, it could only be attributed to Wen Xiaodao being kicked into the water and frightened, which temporarily prevented him from walking. Quickly, a rehabilitation training treatment plan was given to Wen Xiaodao. At the beginning, Wen Xiaodao's performance was really like a person who had been disabled for many years, completely unaware of how to control the strength of his legs. I have fallen countless times, but fortunately, Wen Xiaodao has extraordinary perseverance, coupled with his legs being already good, and he trains day and night. After a week, he can finally walk normally. Looking at his white and straight legs, Wen Xiaodao stroked his legs countless times, making those who didn't know the situation feel that Wen Xiaodao was simply a pervert. When Wen Xiaodao could be discharged from the hospital, Qin Fan appeared with a pale and haggard face. It's just a small matter. After dealing with it for so long, not to mention its ghostly appearance, Wen Xiaodao couldn't help but shake his head. Compared to her previous subordinates, it's really weak and explosive. I really miss my 12 shadow guards and the 4 stewards very much. I don't know if I'm dead. Did they follow her orders and leave, or did they sacrifice their lord? As for why didn't they be handed over to a new homeowner? Perhaps it's because of one emperor and one courtier, and she also doesn't want the people she has worked hard to raise to become servants of others, being called around by others. After Qin Fan finished paying the fee, he turned around and saw Wen Xiaodao looking at him with a very sighing expression, and his hair stood up again. Xiaodao, what's wrong? Wen Xiaodao withdrew his somewhat disdainful gaze and said, "It's nothing, let's go." Being a person should not be too greedy. With a healthy body, a free soul, and the desire for former power, it is really her fault, Qin Fan. I always feel like you're implying me, Wen Xiaodao. By the way, Xiaodao, this is your transfer procedure. Qin Fan hesitated for a moment. The number 1 middle school in Jiangzhou, where Xiaodao is currently located, is really good. If Wen Xiaodao had studied hard in the past 3 years, he would definitely have been able to get into a very good university, but Wen Xiaodao was so surprised that he transferred her to a vocational high school in an affiliated city of Jiangzhou City, which Qin Fan didn't understand very much. However, seeing Wen Xiaodao's gaze, Qin Fan instinctively felt that if he didn't follow her instructions, he would be very miserable. Looking at the transfer certificate he received, Wen Xiaodao was very satisfied and then asked, "Where is the development office?" Qin Fan felt even more overwhelmed. These days, he has a deep sense of doubt about life. He graduated from the best law major in Kyoto and has seen so many cases, but why did he encounter someone like Wen Xiaodao who was obviously not playing cards according to common sense? Fortunately, he used all his network connections and finally met the relevant leaders, which finally led to the successful completion of this matter. Another contract of replacement and free gift was handed to Wen Xiaodao. The demolished area under your name has already replaced all the compensation agreements in another district. According to your requirements, all the houses you want are now available. When you reach adulthood, those houses should have been repaired and can be directly transferred. The previously determined demolition area will be left and used for 2 years, and the piece of wasteland and pond under your name will be given as compensation to the Jiangzhou municipal government. These agreements, no matter how you look at them, are at the expense of Wen Xiaodao. With each move in and out, Wen Xiaodao will lose at least 7 to 8 billion yuan. This is just an estimated cost price. No wonder those people will agree. As a result, the Wen family will really not receive a penny. Even for the sake of guarding against the people of the Wen family, the cost is too high. In order to fight against the time difference of these 2 years, Wen Xiaodao's courage, even the relevant leaders, couldn't help but marvel. Looking at the agreement she received, Wen Xiaodao was very satisfied. In this world, there is no one who wants to collect her Wen Jin will yet. Alright, in the next 2 years, I will leave the main urban area of Jiangzhou City. You'd better keep my whereabouts confidential and don't come to me if you have nothing to do. Qin Fan. I am just a tool person. Do you want me to give you a ride? No need, I'll go back to Jinjia village to get something and leave. In the past 2 years, the demolition plan has been put on hold. The hope that the Jinjia family wants to receive compensation before I reach adulthood has been cut off. You just need to keep an eye on them and don't do those unethical things. As for what kind of immorality it is, Wen Xiaodao did not say, nor did Qin Fan ask, but he knew that he still had to keep an eye on the people in Wen's village, otherwise his life would be difficult. Wen Xiaodao found a place, put away the files, and then followed the path he remembered to return to Jinjia village. He walked all the way until his throat was smoking. Wen Xiaodao regretted it. She was quite excited to be able to walk now, but she didn't expect that her legs would hurt so much after walking for a long time. The key is that Wen Xiaodao's body is not very good. Oh, I made a mistake. Finally approaching, Wen Xiaodao saw a bamboo forest and his eyes lit up. Finally, he could rest. Just as I took off my coat and sat down on the ground, a small bamboo leaf green was ready to attack Wen Xiaodao. In that moment, the gaze of one person and one snake met. If it were someone else, I would probably be scared to pee, but now Wen Xiaodao is not afraid. Her legs are disabled, but she tried everything she could back then, such as using poison to fight poison and the antidote pill. For her, venomous snakes are like decorations at home, afraid of a hammer. With a sudden leap, Swayaking saw that the snake was about to bite Wen Xiaodao. Wen Xiaodao's speed also grabbed Swayaking's head, and the snake's tail suddenly wrapped around Wen Xiaodao's forearm. Little thing, be good and I'll take good care of you. Otherwise, I'll crush you to death. Although her voice was very gentle, it made Swayaking, who didn't understand anything, feel scared. Her tail tip even shook a little, and finally she obediently relaxed her strength and said, in just a few seconds, Wen Xiaodao put Swayaking into his sleeve, as if Swayaking was her pet, disobedient, and confused. He was very obedient, and not far away, 2 men happened to see the scene of Wen Xiaodao recapturing Swayaking. The shorter man suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "TSK TSK TSK, are these rural girls so powerful? We don't even need to save them." And the man in front of him was holding a thin piece of iron sheet in his hand, clearly poised for action. If Wen Xiaodao hadn't recovered this bamboo leaf green, he might have been split in 2 by this thin iron sheet. Just as the 2 were about to leave, a man carrying a hoe suddenly emerged from behind Wen Xiaodao, 7 or 8 meters away. He looked at Wen Xiaodao with a seductive expression, his slender figure revealing a pair of big white legs. Xianyangpi, at a young age, she can seduce people, just like your mother. As he spoke, he threw away his hoe and threw himself at Wen Xiaodao. Although Wen Xiaodao was not scared, he was disgusted. In Wen Xiaodao's memory, she was somewhat afraid of him, because this is not the first time this man has coveted her. In the past, there was old man Wen around, and this man was a bit timid. But now, who knows that there is no one in this Wen family village who is fond of seeing Wen Xiaodao. If Wen Xiaodao were his person, he would not only get a beautiful woman, but also the wealth left by old man Wen. It would be like killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and no one would stand out. A few times before, Wen Xiaodao had escaped. This time in this bamboo forest, there weren't many people. Now, if it were a real Wen Xiaodao, he might really suffer. The man not far away flashed a murderous intent in his eyes and was about to come quickly to save someone. A crisp and pleasant voice rang out. Others say that the most poisonous thing in this world is the mouth of a green bamboo snake, the most poisonous to women's hearts. Wen Xiaodao shook his head with a hint of pity and continued, "Your fate is really bad. You've encountered both today." At the same time, a man's mournful and painful scream sounded, and his body fell to the ground with a loud bang. His 7 orifices bled and he stopped moving. Swayaking fiercely bit the man's main artery, gaining freedom. Just as she was about to run, she was caught by that fierce woman again. She really wanted to take a bite, but in the end, she obediently closed it and gently wrapped her tail around Wen Xiaodao's wrist. From a distance, it looked like she was wearing a jade bracelet, picking up the clothes on the ground, trembling, when Xiao Dao hummed a tune and bounced away from the bamboo forest. The whole process was completely unrelated to her, whether in panic or fear, and the two men who were preparing to come over from afar, the shorter one, felt that his legs were weak. This Nima was a safe killer, and the little girl, it seems, won't be over 16 years old. Her fierce and experienced appearance made him feel a cold blood rush to his forehead. Mom, this girl is a werewolf, this. Both of them didn't need to look, they knew that the man had already died. On top of his shameless and filthy behavior, the leading man then said, "Let's go." The short man immediately chased after him, his expression clearly not calming down. "Sir, let's just watch that little girl kill like this. If that little girl didn't kill anyone, and we just saved someone, even if we don't kill him, we will still have to depose him. What difference does that make?" The short man choked for a moment and couldn't help but say, "But. No, but they are all similar results. The difference is that we hurt people by saving them, while she kills people by saving herself. Have you never killed those who harmed you?" Short man. Although it seems a bit reasonable, why do I just feel that this is not right? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. I don't want to work hard anymore. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. I don't want to work hard anymore. Returning to the old house in Wen Xiaodao's memory, Wen Jin couldn't help but admire old man Wen a bit. With such a person full of killing spirit and such a large industry, she was able to guard her only adopted granddaughter in such a dilapidated house for more than 10 years. I don't know why old man Wen is guarding this village and not going out. Otherwise, the real Wen Xiaodao wouldn't be so cowardly and insecure. Now, this is different from the era when there were numerous aristocratic families and clans in the Dayan dynasty. The people here can live a good life with their own hands and do not need the protection of clans at all. If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. It seems that old man Wen has hidden many secrets. However, Wen Jin never thought about exploring anything. She has had enough of those days in her previous life. In this life, being a simple person is the way. That's why all the compensation is for her. As long as she only wants a house, she should be a good renter, right? As for why she transferred to another school, it is probably because in Wen Xiaodao's memory, the students from Jiangzhou No. 1 middle school looked like they were all introverted, which not only made it difficult for Wen Xiaodao, who was insecure, timid, and lacking in talent, to adapt. Even someone from a different world, she felt that why bother making things difficult for herself. She has learned these things a long time ago. Although there are still some differences between the two worlds, history is surprisingly similar, except for a few things that are different. Everything else is the same, so she really doesn't need to learn anymore. According to my memory, the place where old man Wen had instructed her before she died, after digging out the things, was a palm-sized golden nano box. Even though it had been buried deep underground for many years, this good wood was different, emitting a faint aroma. Opening the box, there was a missing jade pendant inside. Although the material was good, it was already broken and not worth any money. However, if it were to be polished to make a ring face and small beads, it would still be good. Of course, Wen Jin had no intention of taking action. At least it was something that old man Wen had left for Wen Xiaodao. She wasn't greedy for this thing, and most importantly, she didn't like it either. After covering the lid, Wen Xiaodao collected a few more things and decisively left Wenjia village. No one saw Wen Xiaodao return throughout the process. Who let old Wen's house be located at the end of the most remote village? Walking on the path, no one would notice her at all. The man who wanted to ambush Wen Xiaodao died in the bamboo forest, and no one suspected it was human-made, let alone Wen Xiaodao. His family, after falling and beating him for a while, still accepted his fate and buried him. They could only consider themselves unlucky. When Xiaodao, carrying some simple luggage and a transfer certificate, arrived at the new school and even alarmed their director. Although Wen Xiaodao used to be timid and afraid of things, his grades were really good. As long as he studied hard, he could definitely get into a good university, but such a girl, with a promising future, came to study vocational high school, which makes people feel strange. 1. Can you tell the teacher that you voluntarily transferred this time? Even though Wen Xiaodao didn't say anything, the director had already imagined that a diligent and studious student was being bullied. This kind of thing has happened before. There was a student who transferred from another high school before, and that girl was forced by her stepmother to attend vocational high school, hoping that she would come out to work early to earn money and support her younger brother. How could such a human tragedy happen in the eyes of educators like them? In the end, the director initiated a donation and then sent the girl back to high school. Now, the girl has been admitted to a good university in Kyoto, and this result makes him feel very proud and worthy of his status as an educator, but Wen Xiaodao was a bit confused. I didn't mention reporting, but I also need to explain why I transferred schools. However, Wen Xiaodao had no intention of keeping it a secret and said directly, no one is forcing me. I was a child picked up by my grandfather. My grandfather died, and now I am the only one. Before she could finish speaking, she saw this tall man with red eyes in front of her. Wen Xiaodao. Too pitiful. 1. Don't be afraid. I know many kind-hearted people who will definitely help good children like you finish their studies. My grandfather has left me billions of inheritance, and I just want to be someone who lives by the side and doesn't want to work hard anymore. Wen Xiaodao saw the emotional director, but in the end, he calmly finished speaking with an expressionless face. Director. The two gazed at each other, as if they were both looking at each other, seeing embarrassment. In the end, the director took the initiative to speak up. So, 1. Have you ever thought that if you study hard, you can make more contributions to society in the future? Later, he saw Wen Xiaodao with a firm expression and gaze, shaking his head and saying, Director, I don't want to work hard anymore. With a click, the director felt that he had heard his own heartbreak. Why did he want to make a good student lose his way? Why is it so difficult? Just before he could speak, Wen Xiaodao stabbed him again and said, Director, are you pushing the students from your own school out like this, and the principal won't even cut you off? Director. So, is that why you call it Wen Xiaodao? This knife is really hurting. Wen Xiaodao is truly curious. Of course, she has no malicious intent towards the director. At least she was also someone who could have been a queen in the past. How could she not understand how to judge people? This director is really a good person. The director's face showed an awkward expression. So what? 1. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. You can go directly to handle the relevant procedures later. After finishing speaking, she picked up her thermos and ran very fast, as if something was chasing him from behind. Wen Xiaodao was really a bit regretful. She actually quite likes people who are purely without any purpose. She wanted to communicate more, but ended up scaring them away. As expected, not everyone can handle the authority of the first owner. When Xiaodao had to drag his suitcase and go to another office to handle the procedures, the teacher who handled the procedures also saw Wen Xiaodao's previous file. Such a good student shouldn't have come to their school, and the director didn't even ask. It's really amazing, he casually asked. Wen, have you seen Director Su? Is it the one who is white, tall, holding a thermos, and crying even worse than me when I hear that my whole family has died? Teacher handling procedures. In fact, it's not necessary to describe it so aptly. This makes me, as a subordinate, want to laugh a bit, but feel very wrong. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. For Beauties of the End of the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. For Beauties of the End of the World. At this moment, the teacher who was handling the procedures surprisingly had the same idea as Director Su before. It seems that a person as their name really makes sense. 1. The procedures have been completed and I happen to have some free time. Let's take you to the accommodation building. Looking at Wen Xiaodao's small box, the teacher instinctively wanted to say something, but in the end, he still shut up, afraid that he would also be stabbed. When we arrived at the girls' dormitory building, the teacher who was delivering Wen Xiaodao stopped and said, "Wen, the teacher won't go up." Here is your dormitory room number. If you have any difficulties in studying or living, you can directly contact the homeroom teacher. Wen Xiaodao carried his luggage upstairs and could hear deafening DJ music from afar. If combined with the swaying neon lights, it's not an exaggeration to say that this place is a bar, which is very disturbing to the people. Come on, everyone, get up. When the isothermal knife realized it, she realized that this noisy and restless dormitory on the entire floor was actually her new dormitory. The door was ajar, and with a gentle push, it opened. At first glance, oh my goodness, there are many celebrity figures standing neatly at the bedside table at the entrance. There are 4 beds, and there are 3 people inside. Well, with her, there are only 4 people. Oh, new classmates are here. It's rare. The girl in charge, upon hearing the voice, is the owner of the previous voice. Looking at Wen Xiaodao, she feels very bullied. Hey, has anyone told you that not everyone can enter our 666 dormitory? Wen Xiaodao put down his luggage and looked at the girl who was clearly half a head taller than him. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Are you going to pay respects to the doc?" As soon as the words fell, not only did they startle the girl in front of her, but 2 other girls with hair like chicken coops also turned their heads to look at Wen Xiaodao. Stop the music first. The tall girl reached out and patted Wen Xiaodao's shoulder, saying, "Aren't you brave, little girl? Are you not afraid of me? As long as you don't eat people, drink human blood, or stab me with a knife, I won't be afraid. By the way, is this position mine? Can you please move someplace for your little ones first?" As soon as Wen Xiaodao finished speaking, the 3 girls involuntarily slapped their arms and said, "No wonder you dare to live here. What you said is really abnormal." In the past, it wasn't that no one was assigned to 666, but those people were scared out of their wits before they even had a face-to-face encounter. I didn't expect this new little girl to look like a doe and say things that really disgusted them, especially thinking that the takeout later would be duck blood. It's not enough, just thinking about it would make her vomit. However, they all stood up and helped Wen Xiaodao remove the human-shaped signs. Are these your idols? I used to be able to fan so many people at once. Oh, these are all my harems. By the way, let me introduce myself. My name is Lin Lin, the majestic Lin, this is Mu Yu, and this is Lu Yumei. The 3 of us are all preschool teachers. How about you? Wen Xiaodao, learning to travel. Upon hearing the name of Wen Xiaodao, Lin Lin suddenly said, "Gentle Dao, Wen Xiaodao, the knife that kills people." Oh, it looks like this really is. Obviously, he didn't want too much entanglement in his name, so Wen Xiaodao directly turned the topic to Lin Lin's harem. Do you like so many people? You underestimate me now. I'm a fair person, and I never favor anyone. Here, let me show you. This is a box flipping through signs. Whoever I flip over will sleep with me at night. Wen Xiaodao. The emperor doesn't even know how to play like you. Knife and knife, is that all you have? Lin Lin didn't know what he had brainwashed, but after seeing Wen Xiaodao's luggage, he had already brainwashed the image of a poor student. Don't worry, in the future, my sister will cover you up. The cafeteria is owned by my dad's friend, so you can eat it freely without any money. Wen Xiaodao's hand packing her luggage suddenly stopped. Does she look really poor now? The money for meals is enough. If it weren't for her young age and lack of signing rights now, she would have already obtained the property, so she wouldn't have had to worry too much. She couldn't even afford a good piece of clothing. The clothes she was wearing now were not worn by the rough girls in her yard before, but now she obviously has to adapt to such a poor life. Lu Yumei also stepped forward and patted the other shoulder of Wen Xiaodao. After a gentle sigh from Wen Xiaodao, it seemed as if nothing had happened. However, Lin Lin and Lu Yumei had an illusion of surviving the disaster, which was far from the big picture. Did they just be scared by Wen Xiaodao's bold remarks? They will never know in their lifetime that Wen Jin, who was once disabled and could only sit in a wheelchair, hates being slapped on the shoulder the most. These people, in the end, are very friendly and queue up to do flower fat, Dao Dao, when we come to 666, we will be sisters. We will share weal and woe together in the future. If we have money to spend together, I will take you to buy new clothes later. Mu Yu, you can buy shoes for Dao Dao. Our appearance is not bad. From today on, we will be beautiful everywhere. Wen Xiaodao. Where exactly did I go? Do you still have a gift for the meeting? Upon hearing this, Lin Lin immediately felt that it made sense. The three of us used to worship together, but now that you're here, we'll worship again. Is it the kind of blood oath? I'm afraid of pain. Lin Lin and the others immediately stiffened, and their eyes towards Wen Xiaodao were full of doubts. Where exactly did this thing come from and how could it be said so eerie? I saw Mu Yu take out 4 cups of sweet and flowing milk tea from the cabinet. On TV, it's about drinking alcohol, let's drink milk tea. Wen Xiaodao. So at the beginning, you made yourself feel like a social person, making her always think about dealing with social people the way they do, and the result was good, not right. Lu Yume quickly went over, helped unpack the packaging, and then brewed it. Each person had a cup, not the ugly person. Come on, today's 666 is finally a success. We are all good sisters. Cheers. Cheers. Wen Xiaodao, who had been drinking a whole cup of milk tea while being held up, savored it for a while. It seems that the taste is quite good. I'll secretly buy some one day. Dao Dao, wait for us after school this afternoon. We'll set up a welcome banquet for you, don't miss out. Okay, I got it. Everyone in 666 is completely unaware that they have become the subject of discussion at this moment. Bet this newcomer how long they can stay. If you ask me, the school should have expelled all the monsters in their dormitories long ago. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Jinjia Cuisine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Jinjia Cuisine. Wen Xiaodao didn't know that she was also blamed for being a monster. After she finished her work, I finally found out that the person from the 666 dormitory has a really impressive reputation in school. It's not that the 3 of them are bad students or have done a lot of things that violate school rules. The title of monster comes from what these 3 people have done. In most people's eyes, it is different from ordinary people. In other words, these 3 people are not sociable. Of course, in every school, there are some students who are not sociable, but in most schools, such students must belong to the excluded group. Not being bullied is like burning incense, but these 3 people are amazing. They are just a few outliers, directly superior to these so-called normal people. Not only do they not have any loneliness or inferiority, but they are also high profile as if others are outliers. With this mentality and this thick skin, Wen Xiaodao immediately expressed his appreciation and increasingly felt that the 4 beauties of the ends of the world truly lived up to their name. When it was time to finish school, Lin Lin and Mu Yu were already waiting, and Lu Yume went to order dishes. Lin Lin, now this knife must already know our reputation. Do you think she will come? Will she be like other people before, afraid that if she gets caught up in us, she will become an outsider in others' eyes and move out directly? Lin Lin waved confidently and said, no, when did I miss out on my vision? With just a knife-like mouth, it's destined that she's not on the same path as those other cowards. Besides, I still like the title of 4 beauties in the end of the world and don't like the 3 swordsmen. If she doesn't come, I'll drag her over. This kind of speech not only didn't make Mu Yu feel that there was any problem, but she nodded and said in agreement, so I'll say, I don't agree with even the walls, I'll agree with you, Lin Lin. That's good. I'll go drag people with you when the time comes. After school, there was a surge of people, but miraculously, other places were densely packed with people, except for the place where Lin Lin and Mu Yu stood, which was quite spacious. Look, those 2 monsters are coming to our teaching building again. I really don't know what the school thinks. People like this should be kicked out. Don't say it anymore. If they hear us, They will spread the word, we are good friends everywhere and lose face. Mu Yu's eyes were sharp. Although they were densely packed, she still saw someone quickly glance at them and then lower her head to mutter, saying bad things about them. She didn't know what was going on with these people, everyone is so stupid. When you want to speak ill of someone, don't hesitate and speak confidently, so that you won't be caught by her. Look, these fools are muttering again, I don't know what they're up to. Even though they know they can't provoke us, they still want to find a sense of existence for themselves. You also know that they are idiots. You argue with idiots, isn't it even more foolish? Wen Xiaodao was right behind them at this moment. When he heard these two guys, he started cursing people, even his own people. It was indeed a monster that everyone in the school avoided. This person is almost finished, why hasn't this knife come out yet? Don't you want to go? You're such a fool. If you're not willing to talk to us anymore, at least you'll have eaten today's welcome banquet. This is a private dish that others can't even order. When Xiaodao suddenly spoke up, so it seems that I still have a bit of a brain. I didn't stand up to you guys, so I can have a good meal today. Lin Lin raised an eyebrow and looked at Mu Yu, so, let me tell you. This girl is just a shrewd one. Let's go. When she arrived at the place, when Xiaodao finally confirmed that the people in room 666 seemed to really welcome her, these dishes are no different from the state banquets she has eaten before. I never expected that there would be such a folk expert in the most remote affiliated prefecture-level city below Jiangzhou City. Dao Dao, you have a good taste. This Jinjia Cuisine is the most famous restaurant in Jiangbei City. Their ancestors were imperial chefs, but after the war, they escaped and settled down with us. They married a poor girl from a local family. Later on, this Jin family dish slowly gained fame. It only sold 10 tables a day, each table containing 20 dishes, 10 imperial kitchen dishes, and 10 home-cooked dishes. There were many people, and they traveled thousands of miles just to have this meal. If it weren't for the people of this Jin family, they wouldn't have been willing to leave this place. They have long been thriving in places like Kyoto. Look, that plaque, contentment always brings joy, is the family motto of their Jin family. It means they don't want future generations to forget their original intention as descendants of imperial chefs in pursuit of benefits. Lin Lin clearly treated Wen Xiaodao as his own person, and now he is working hard to tell Wen Xiaodao everything he knows. Of course, it was also to let Wen Xiaodao know that they were really sincere, otherwise they wouldn't have held such a grand reception banquet. How about it, are you moved? Wen Xiaodao nodded and said, it's quite touching. But in my heart, I was thinking that the Jin family was really smart. Whether they were descendants of the imperial chef or not, their skills were not too outdated. With this story background, the level of Jin family cuisine suddenly rose. This kind of private dish can be said to be an excellent tool for accumulating wealth. If one is careless, it is destined to be irreparable. If the sign and recipe are stolen by someone, it can be considered a small matter. The most feared thing is the destruction of the family, but in such prefecture-level cities, there are not many high-ranking officials, and with just a little support, they can live a very comfortable life, and with a limit of 10 tables per day, it won't make a lot of money. It's not eye-catching, and it's also challenging. The key is, I even gave a family motto at this doorstep. In this way, they have reason to refuse anyone who wants to come and treat them as a means of accumulating wealth. After all, many human tragedies in this world are caused by not resisting the temptation of others. It has to be said that these Jin family members are truly sober in the world, whether they are conscious themselves or awakened by reminders. As long as they can withstand these temptations of fame and fortune, the number of people who can calculate them will be reduced by more than half. Watching Lu Yumei skillfully start helping everyone with their dishes, as well as Lin Lin's demeanor of being with Rongyan, it seems that these two people have some connection with the Jin family cuisine, and it is even possible that one of the backers of the Jin family cuisine is their family members. Otherwise, these two people would not be so familiar. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Distress. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Distress. Sure enough, after finishing the meal, a middle-aged man dressed in chef's clothes came in and looked at Lu Yumei with a hint of smile in his eyes. "Classmates, how are you? Are you still satisfied with today's dishes?" The four of them nodded in agreement and said, "Satisfied." "Uncle, who dares not be satisfied with your craftsmanship? I'll blow his head off." Lu Yumei's eagerness to show loyalty almost made Wen Xiaodao unable to suppress a smile. Okay, as long as you're satisfied. If you want to eat in the future, come back. Uncle will make it in a different way for you." The four of them spoke in unison again. "Thank you, Uncle." Chef Jean suddenly laughed even happier and said, "Okay, I'll go back early after finishing. These days, it's not peaceful at night, so be careful." Lin directly raised his biceps and patted his muscles, saying, "Uncle, don't worry, I'm here, keep them safe and let them go back safely." That's right, Lin is the top expert in their martial arts school. "Uncle, rest assured." When they left, one of the four people took a box of dim sum and left. It is said that this dim sum is only for free, not for sale, and only for specific guests. Wen Xiaodao now knows that he really picked up the right amount of stool. In the past, she was only eaten and taken by others, but now she has become eaten and taken by others. This kind of cheap food is really delicious. When I went back, I didn't expect to actually encounter something. A few drunken men stopped the four people who were going back. Coincidentally, there were not many people on this road. "Little sister, brother treats you to good food." Lin directly pulled Wen Xiaodao and the three of them behind him, while sternly scolding. "I'm eating your master. I'm so bold that I dare to stop Lin. You don't even go and inquire about me." The people from Lin's martial arts school are easy to bully. I don't know if it's alcohol that makes people brave, or if some people just want to use the excuse that getting drunk and causing trouble is not their intention. The man in charge sneered. "Lin's martial arts school? Oh, I haven't heard of it, but my brother just likes small chili peppers like you. Don't worry, my brother will take good care of you." If Lin were the only one today, perhaps she would remember the first rule of the martial arts school, which is to never easily take action and take a different path, but today, here are her three sisters. If she gives in, they will be afraid. So she has tightened her fists and is ready to go. As long as these people dare to move around, she will beat them up so that their parents don't even know them. "Fuck off your damn dog, I'm warning you all for the last time. Get out of here now, or else don't blame my subordinates for being merciless." Ha, brother likes the way your subordinates are merciless." As soon as he spoke, he rushed over, and the other men, seeing the situation, also gathered around. The strong smell of alcohol immediately hit his face, indicating that these few people had drunk a lot. Mu Yu's face suddenly changed. Lin was only one person and had to protect the three of them. When Xiaodao originally thought these people were just ordinary drunken provocations, but took out his phone and recorded the situation where they confronted these people. After all, if something really happens, they also have evidence. But when Xiaodao saw that the feet of these people were not floating, his heart suddenly thumped. These few people are definitely not ordinary people. After drinking so much alcohol, those who still have such a stable appetite are definitely not easy. Unfortunately, although she used to be known as the King of Hell, she had no martial arts skills except for her skilled poison techniques and hidden weapons, so she couldn't help. Oh, no, although she doesn't have martial arts skills, she still has a bamboo leaf green in her hand. Thinking of this, Wen Xiaodao's left hand continued to hold his phone to shoot videos, while his right hand had already reached into his pocket and grabbed out the resting bamboo leaf green, swayaking. "If it weren't for my good nose and smelling your scent, believe it or not, I would have just bitten you to death with one bite. Are you so rude? I wonder if my skin is thin." Lu Yumei was originally a bit scared, but when she saw that Wen Xiaodao was still filming a video, her mind immediately reacted and she quickly took out her phone, ready to call the police. The appearance of the two holding their phones clearly angered the other person. The man in charge, with a flash of killing intent in his eyes, rushed over directly, "Be careful, their trading is very stable." Wen Xiaodao didn't care too much and shouted directly at Lin Lin, obviously afraid that Lin Lin would underestimate the enemy. Although Lin Lin is not very old, at least she grew up in a martial arts school. Before, she also noticed that there was something wrong with these people, just haven't discovered the problem yet. Now that I heard Wen Xiaodao's words, I immediately realized that these people are pretending to be drunk. Those few men, to their surprise, someone could see their problem. Now, without pretending to be drunk, they just took action. Even people who don't know martial arts can tell from their every move that these people are experts. Lin Lin, alone, had no way of stopping several people at the same time. At the moment she got into contact with these people, she knew that she was not a match for them. Run quickly, scatter. As soon as Lin Lin finished speaking, Wen Xiaodao's voice rang out. "We can't run around separately, they may have ambushed people nearby." At this moment, Mu Yu and Lu Yumei didn't know who to listen to. Lin Lin suddenly reacted to Wen Xiaodao's words. These people, since they are not really drunkards, must have been targeting them early on. How could they let them run away? At this moment, the man in charge kicked Lin Lin directly in the stomach, which was very heavy and sent him flying several meters away. Mu Yu and Lu Yumei were also forced into the wall by someone. One of the men, looking at Wen Xiaodao, surprisingly remained calm and took a photo of them with his phone. He didn't even come forward and take down Wen Xiaodao's phone. Instead, she smiled and said, "You little girl, your eyesight is quite good. You can even notice that we're pretending to be drunk. But even if you make a video, what's going on? We'll catch you guys and hide for a few years, and everything will be fine, but you're different." The man didn't finish speaking, but the three of them, Wen Xiaodao and Lin Lin, clearly knew what the outcome would be. Except for Wen Xiaodao, the other three turned pale. "Yeah, but now your life is in my hands. As someone like me, I have been petty since I was young. If someone hurts a strand of my hair, I will shave it off and make me bleed a drop. I will make him bleed a bowl of blood. Now, if you want to kill us, do you think I will keep your life?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Empty City Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Empty City Plan. A few men burst out laughing, obviously feeling that the little girl holding her phone was not very clever. It was time for her to show off. When he was about to say something, Wen Xiaodao suddenly changed his tone and asked directly, "Can I know who you are? Why are you arresting us? We are just poor students and have no money." Later, Wen Xiaodao tilted his head and raised his eyebrows, seeming to react. He continued, "Oh, no, with someone as skilled as you, who appears to intercept the four of us at the same time, it's definitely not for money, so it's revenge. I just came to Jiangbei City, so you probably didn't come for me. I'm your addition, so you came for the three of them. According to normal circumstances, we are just four little girls. Just a few strong men should be able to hold on to us without using experts like you. It seems that you also know that Lin Lin is a member of the Lin family martial arts school with extraordinary skills, so the person you mainly want to catch today is Lin Lin, or in other words, the person you really want to deal with is the Lin family martial arts school. I heard that the nights have not been very peaceful lately, and there have been many incidents of drunken provocation. It was intentional by you, just to disturb everyone's sight. We young girls are all quite good looking. If something happens, it will definitely be attributed to the previous events. This way, no one will know your true purpose. Am I right?" After Wen Xiaodao finished speaking, he saw that the faces of those people who laughed wildly changed immediately. If it weren't for being convinced that the little girl in front of them had never seen her before, they would all suspect that she was their accomplice and had guessed everything from 8 to 9. The man in charge, looking at Wen Xiaodao with a fierce but regretful expression, said, "Little girl, you are very smart, but sometimes smart people die very quickly. You can't stay. Such a smart person, since he has offended, must be directly eradicated, otherwise there will be endless troubles ahead." Wen Xiaodao nodded in agreement and said, "You're right. Some people, once offended, never give up. Coincidentally, I'm just like that." Lin Lin had already climbed up from the ground and looked at Wen Xiaodao with a look of guilt. If it was really like what Wen Xiaodao said, it was because she had implicated her. You're such a smart little girl, but you still have to die. I can let you choose how to die. Oh, who's going to die? Didn't you hear what I said before? Look at what's on your brother's neck. Everyone's gaze was drawn away by Wen Xiaodao's words, because there were not many people in this alley and the street lights were not very bright, so it was still a bit dim. Wen Xiaodao also thoughtfully turned on the flashlight on his phone. Now, everyone could see clearly that the man closest to Wen Xiaodao had a neck injury, wrapped around a small green glowing snake. The red snake's venom was very close to his main artery. Hiss, a sound of gasping air echoed, and the man with a snake around his neck also reacted. Although he didn't know what had happened, he saw the boss's gaze, full of fear, and knew it was not good. Just as I was about to move, I heard the sound of Wen Xiaodao coming from hell again. Don't move. I said your little life is in my hands, so you must obediently listen. Otherwise, my little green will bite you and you will die. That's also what you brought for yourself. Then Wen Xiaodao looked at the man led by him and said, I'm not just this little snake. If you move around and get bitten to death, then you deserve it. At this moment, the man who was supposed to launch a surprise attack suddenly froze. The snake's mouth was too close to his brother's neck, and he couldn't be sure if his brother had been bitten when he killed the little snake. Mu Yu, come here. Mu Yu and Lu Yumei, who were forced into the wall, immediately ran over and supported Lin Lin, approaching Wen Xiaodao. Can you control snakes? If you have time to ask me these questions, I think you should evacuate as soon as possible. Before I filmed the video earlier, I had already sent a message to the school leaders asking them to report to the police. Now, you should be here soon. You are welcome. Nowadays, men are really a bit wary. A woman who can control snakes must have more than one snake in her hand. Although they are here to catch people, they have not thought of throwing their own lives here. That's a green bamboo leaf. Taking a bite would give them no chance to even go to the hospital. Humph, today is considered lucky for you. Wen Xiaodao didn't care at all, looked confident and fearless, then looked at the bamboo leaf green and said coldly, come back, Zweiking. Your grandfather really treats me like a slave, but it still stumbled back, wrapped around Wen Xiaodao's wrist, and then looked straight at the men who were facing Wen Xiaodao and the others. Despite having such a small head, it puts immense pressure on several big men across the street, especially for the man who was entangled by it before. When he saw the true face of Zweiking, his legs almost softened. Nima, he was almost told to be here just now. If you leave now, I'll let the snakes withdraw. Otherwise, everyone will die together today, but I'm sure you'll have to swallow your breath first. The scene fell silent for a while, and there seemed to be some hurried footsteps coming from afar. The man's face finally changed. Let's go. Waiting for everyone to leave, Mu Yu and the others didn't move either. Knife and knife, where are the other snakes? Have they left? I saw Wen Xiaodao pulling off the snake wrapped around his wrist and rudely stuffing it into his bag. Then he said, where are their snakes? Just this one. At this moment, not only Mu Yu, but also the other two people looked at Wen Xiaodao with a surprised and fearful expression on their faces, saying, well. Are you not afraid of breaking through? What are you afraid of? Have you never heard of the empty city plan? The more calm I am, the more afraid they are, especially when Xiaoqing listens to me so much. Of course, they are afraid if it's true. People with such skills are very willing to sacrifice their lives. It's impossible for them to sacrifice their own lives for a task. What I'm betting on is their willingness to sacrifice their lives. I won. A few obvious swallowing sounds showed how grateful the other three were, grateful that they were truly afraid of death. Dao Dao, I think if the people in school knew what you did, you might be more famous than the three of us. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Internal Injury. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Internal Injury. Lu Yume picked up her phone that had fallen to the ground in a panic just now. Fortunately it was not broken. Did you just say that you had already told the school leaders about the incident of reporting to the police? Is it true or false? This is true. At this moment, the three of them really have to submit to Wen Xiaodao. With this speed, they won't even lose when playing games, right? Don't tell anyone about raising Xiaoqing. If they were to see such a green bamboo leaf in their daily lives, they would surely feel fearful, and at the same time, they would have to find ways to eliminate this potential threat, but now, Xiaoqing has saved their lives. It's a life-saving snake. They won't be so ungrateful and sell Xiaoqing. Don't worry, we are very loyal. In school, even if you keep a pet snake, it will make people afraid. Not to mention keeping bamboo leaves, the whole school may explode. At that time, they may not be excluded, but directly driven away. Hurry up and leave. The street lights are not on in this place, it's really scary. A few people had just walked out of the alley when they saw Director Su coming over with several people wearing security clothes holding a guy in their hands. Seeing the four safe people, Director Su breathed a clear sigh of relief, but soon he realized that he had breathed a sigh of relief too early. Under the light, Lin looked a bit disheveled, especially on his white clothes. The obvious footprints on his stomach made him feel very painful. Is this injured? Hurry up, take it to the hospital. Lin really wants to say no. After all, when she was in the martial arts school before, there were many times when she was beaten like this, and she could still withstand it. No. Just before she could say no, she was grabbed by Wen Xiaodao and interrupted. Go to the hospital and have a look, I'm afraid there may be internal injuries. Lin suddenly remembered that Wen Xiaodao had noticed something was wrong with those people before, and he followed Wen Xiaodao's advice. When they arrived at the hospital, Director Su had already called the police. These drunken men were really reckless. They dared to cause trouble near the school and even injured someone. He doesn't know anyone else, but Lin, who can be said to be the most skilled little girl he knows, has been beaten up like this. But those people are definitely not good people. Quickly, the examination results came out. Lin's ribs were injured, and the subcutaneous bruising was quite severe, making him feel anxious. The doctor also knew that the little girls were eating out, and on their way back, they encountered a drunken man who caused trouble and beat people up like this. They actively helped to find people to do detailed injury tests, and when they were caught, they had to be treated properly. When Lin's father arrived, Lin finally revealed their previous suspicions. Dad, have you offended anyone recently? If it weren't for my little sisters, you might not have seen me today. Look, I was beaten to something. What Lin's skills look like, nothing is clearer than Lin's father. His precious daughter, even under his command, can walk for several rounds. As a result, she couldn't fight those people for a round, and it turned out like this. Suddenly feeling a wave of fear in his heart, he quickly asked his disciple to investigate when such a group of people came to Jiangbei City, and then he looked at Wen Xiaodao and the three of them very kindly. Well, my Lin is lucky to have such a good sisters as you. Don't worry. I will ask my apprentice to walk around your school these days. Whenever you have a chance, just go find them and don't come out alone. When you catch someone, uncle will treat you to a good meal. When Xiaodao carefully glanced at Lin's father and could probably guess that this person's skills were not bad, and he could beat the few people they had encountered before, she also breathed a sigh of relief. Otherwise she might have personally gone to catch those few people. The things she said before were not false. Some people, as long as they offend, can only live on and on. Although she doesn't know what those people really want to do, it's undeniable that she ruined their good deeds, and they won't let her go. If the Lin martial arts school were to handle this matter unfairly, she would be in danger, and she would have to take action first. Lin's injury is still a bit serious. Director Su strongly recommended that Lin be hospitalized, but Lin's father is not worried that his daughter is here. The hospital is crowded with people, and if those people don't give up, it will be troublesome, and these internal injuries can also be treated by their martial arts school. After Lin's father signed an agreement with Director Su, he took Lin back. after waiting for the police to finish recording the confession, Wen Xiaodao edited the video he had filmed and handed it over to the police. Then, a few people followed Director Su back to school. Watching Wen Xiaodao enter the police station on his first day at school, Director Su sighed countless times, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Seeing Mu Yu next to him, he couldn't help but want to ask, "If there's anything, just let me know," but Director Su didn't say anything about it, which made a few people feel frustrated. After returning to the dormitory, Mu Yu and Lu Yumei were clearly frightened and didn't even have time to wash up, so they went straight to bed. Wen Xiaodao, however, was thinking that she needed to quickly find some opportunities to get some poisonous flowers and plants, otherwise there would be no self-defense. The next day, several disciples of the Lin Martial Arts School went to the vicinity of the school to guard. They also received photos of those people and are now staring at them. The master said that these people are very likely to hit little sister's attention. In just one day, Wen Xiaodao, in their hearts, had already gone from being a classmate of Wen to becoming Xiaodao's younger sister, completely treating her as their own person. Lin looked at them as they grew up, and they were all afraid of falling in their hands and melting in their mouths. Now, how could they swallow the thought of someone even beating their junior sister like this? When Wen Xiaodao walked out of the school gate, he saw several young people in their 20s, with upright postures and even more stable footwork. At first glance, he knew that their skills were extraordinary. They might not be defeated by the few people from last night, but they wouldn't lose too badly. "You are Xiaodao's younger sister, right? Thank you so much yesterday. Whatever you want to buy, just let us go and help you buy. During this time, you are at school, so it's best not to come out." When Xiaodao nodded and wrote down everything he wanted on a piece of paper, handing it over to one of them. In this world, unlike the Yunqiao, many hidden weapons can be traded. If she wants to protect herself, she can only find ways to make something come out on her own. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Spring Tour. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Spring Tour. Soon, Lin's senior brother bought the things for Wen Xiaodao. Looking at so many embroidery needles, the senior brother was worried that Wen Xiaodao might hurt him. Special advice. This embroidery needle looks inconspicuous. Be careful when placing it, otherwise, if you get pricked, it will also hurt a lot. I know now, thank you very much, senior brother. I'll have to work hard for you all this time. I'll go back first. Holding the things in his hand, Wen Xiaodao returned to the dormitory and began making a simplified version of Tiannu Sanhua. The weight of embroidery needles is actually a bit excessive, and the best one should be using cowhair needles. Unfortunately, in this world, most people cannot buy these things. Wen Xiaodao could only buy some substitutes and skipped a whole day of classes, finally making a heavenly maiden scattered flower that could shoot 20 embroidery needles at once. With this, Wen Xiaodao still felt that it was not enough, so he made a hidden weapon whistle that was as thin as his fingers, and then made it into a hanging decoration, hanging it together with his own phone. After some thought, Wen Xiaodao pulled out the bamboo leaf green again, just open its mouth and take out some venom. Swaiking almost couldn't resist biting Wen Xiaodao directly. If it could speak, it would definitely say, "Can't we just use another sheep to pull it up? Why were I so inconspicuous when I was caught by you?" After the embroidery needle was stained with venom and installed in the hidden weapon whistle, Wen Xiaodao finally felt that his life was safe. A week later, Lin finally returned, and when Xiaodao and the others finally found out that those who wanted to catch Lin really had a conflict with the Lin Martial Arts School. Dad Lin, when he was young, he went out to learn from his master. Later, he returned to his hometown and opened a martial arts school, living a peaceful life, but to my surprise, Lin's father's master, the former inheritor of the 8 Extremes Fist, suddenly passed away, and the martial arts manual of the 8 Extremes Fist also disappeared. Some people speculate that this martial arts manual is likely in the hands of Mr. Lin, so they send someone to hand over the manual to Mr. Lin. Lin's father insisted that he didn't have any, and he had already left his school. Now that he opened his own martial arts school, he had already established a new door and was unwilling to participate in these disputes, but no one believed this. They just wanted to kidnap Lin's only daughter and force him to comply, and even beat Lin up like this. Now, of course, Lin's father couldn't bear it anymore. He directly contacted several former martial brothers who had a close relationship, and then approached the respected elders in their circle, requesting them to uphold justice. Mu Yu and Lu Yumei suddenly felt a sigh of relief. These people, why are they so bad? Isn't this a blatant robbery, killing and robbing treasures, using strength to bully the weak? Wen Xiaodao is no exception to this kind of thing. Looking at Lin as if the rain has cleared up, Wen Xiaodao does not feel that this matter is over. She didn't know how precious the martial arts manual of the 8 Extremes fist was, but she knew very well that since these people had already set their sights on treasure hunting, they wouldn't easily forget it. If those so-called respected elders could really restrain these people, this matter would not have happened. However, Wen Xiaodao did not reveal these things. Firstly, she and Lin and the others have not yet reached a point where they can say everything. Secondly, this matter was just her speculation. If it were really resolved, why should she talk too much at this time? Fortunately, the annual spring outing has also arrived, and everyone has no extra mood to worry about. They have started planning their travel plans. This time, the school organized a trip to the southernmost unnamed mountain in Jiangbei City. This mountain is also the border between Jiangbei City and North China Province. The mountain range stretches and it is a beautiful place with beautiful scenery. Many hikers like to come here to play. When we reach Nameless Mountain, everyone can freely form teams and collect some specimens according to the school's provided picture book. As long as they pass, they can receive a 10-point extracurricular practice score. After exceeding the task, each person can earn an additional score based on the actual quantity. Every year, spring and autumn outings are the golden periods for everyone to receive extracurricular practice points, and in one semester, there are a total of 30 points of extracurricular practice. Some talented people, after just a few days of practice, have already obtained their 30 points for extracurricular practice this semester, so forming a group is crucial. If you follow a group of experts, not to mention lying down and winning, at least you won't be dragged down. 10 points is safe and reliable. If you follow a group of fools, you may even lose points. Every year, the school evaluates various excellent awards, scholarships, etc., with a maximum score of extracurricular practice points, which is a mandatory requirement, even if all the other grades of this person are excellent, but their extracurricular practice scores are not enough. It is also embarrassing. Those bonuses have nothing to do with him. In the class where Wen Xiaodao is located, everyone formed a team early, perhaps because she and Lin, who are recognized as monsters, have been peacefully together for so long. Everyone silently excluded Wen Xiaodao, so now, in their class, there is only Wen Xiaodao and another boy who looks a bit sickly, and no one is paying attention. The two of them exchanged a glance, clearly understanding that they were a burden in the eyes of others. After thinking for a moment, the boy walked towards Wen Xiaodao and whispered, "Why don't we form a team? Although I'm not very healthy, I have a good memory and can remember everything in the picture book. Compared to flipping through it to find the same thing, I still have an advantage." Wen Xiaodao thought for a moment and realized that there are hundreds of things in this guidebook. If you look for one, you have to take a look. It would take a lot of time. Although her physical strength is not very good, it's better than being alone. Okay, boom. Both of them are excluded by others, so don't blame anyone. Wearing straw hats, wearing long sleeves, and tying up their pants, the crowd followed the massive crowd and began hiking. After climbing for less than 10 minutes, Yukong was feeling a bit panting. If it weren't for a tree branch supporting him in his hand, he might have finished. Although his grades were not bad, he became the only person who needed to retake his practical score with a score of 0 last semester. Yukong Dun smiled bitterly. This time, it seems that he won't get the score again. If he can't get the practical score for 3 consecutive times, he will be discouraged, thinking that due to health reasons, he enjoys studying very much, but his parents are worried about his health and won't even allow him to attend the general high school. They are afraid that he will completely ruin his body for the sake of the college entrance examination. End of this chapter.